I try to look for something that would, try to lift me up a little bit. But one experience that I experienced coming over, driving over, is I felt a bit of excitement because I'm going to be able to see you. And I was saying, wow, that's joy. So, that just kept me awake. I tried different things. I tried singing. I tried to remember my message. And then that one thing was to see your face. See your faces. So, it gives me great joy to see you. And that joy is very deep. I like to send greetings from my brethren in New York. They send their love and they hope to maybe see you. But I'll also send greetings from my wife and my son who is here. Just listening to the prayer request, I have great respect for you, brother here. A lot of respect. And I guess it's what I see, that joy that I see in you and the relationship you have among yourself. But I look at life and I realize that sometimes things are not always what they seem. I think there's a lot more than what things appear to be. And just listening to the prayer request, it tells me a lot. It tells me that there's much more. Sometimes things might seem bad, but we have to remember what God says. He does everything. Everything is done good for us to them that love Him. So sometimes things might look really bad, but the end result is something better. So we always have to look at the end, look for the end result. Not look at the end result, but look for the end result. Turn with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 1. I just want to begin with this. And this message is not so much for you, but it's also for me as well. Because sometimes, living in this flesh, we tend to sometimes focus on the flesh itself. Paul mentioned that there's a war between the flesh and the spirit. And sometimes the flesh, it can be strong at times. And sometimes the spirit can be stronger. And we have to allow the spirit to win. But I want us to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 20, just what it says. It says, "For all the promises of God in Him are yea." Right? And in Him, amen, unto the glory of God by us. Everything that God has for us is positive. Some things to us may look negative, but there's always a positive result. So everything is yea, is yes. All the promises of God is yea or yes. Anything that God promised to us is going to come true. So sometimes, Sister Hillary, things might look really bleak, but we have to remember those examples in the Bible, like Joseph, what he went through. There's always a better, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Always. And if I would think from the scriptures, God does certain things for us and to us to make us better. The way that gold is purified is by heat. Now, if we refuse to be purified by God, then how can we become pure gold? We have to go through something, and we will go through something in life. So things are not always what they seem. We always have to continue to look forward to what God has in store for us. And it's I was listening to the prayer request and even the part of the lesson this morning, and it kind of takes in my message. So I kind of feel like I have nothing more to say. Maybe I should just repeat what was said in the message this morning, in the lesson this morning. Especially Philippians 4:13. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. But there's one thing. We have to have faith in it. Without faith, we cannot do it. So we can repeat the verse over and over, but if we don't have faith in what Christ and in God, it wouldn't come true. And we have to believe that whatever God has for us, we will get it. Sometimes we in ourselves, we want things for ourselves. But we have to look at it in a spiritual sense. Is that what God wants for me? So sometimes we want some things and we might get upset because we didn't get it. But maybe because God wanted something better for us. And we always have to look at things in a spiritual sense. Sometimes we may feel, it may seem like we are alone. Sometimes we may feel like we are alone sometimes in this world. But let's look at what Christ says in Hebrews 13:5. Hebrews 13:5 says, "For he had said," let's read it together. Hebrews 13:5. Sometimes we feel like we are alone in this life. But it says from verse 5, it says, let's read it. "Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he had said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you." He's always there with us. There's this saying that concerning the footprints. There are two footprints walking, but when things get tough, there's only one footprint. Sometimes when that single footprint is not ours, but it's the Lord that's carrying us. Sometimes we don't see it, but it's really Him. He will never leave us, nor forsake us. And that never means it's not a sometimes I will and sometimes I won't. Never means He's going to be always there. I would agree that sometimes we can separate ourselves from Him, but He's making that promise that He is always going to be there for us. So, what we need to do is to have that confidence in Him that He's always there for us. Right? Now, this is really short, so I just have a few more. Sometimes it may seem that we are not loved. Sometimes we may feel that, we just don't belong. But, John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." Imagine that. There's nothing else more valuable that God could have given but His Son. And sometimes I think of, if I had to give my son because of love, how hard it would be for me. So could you imagine how hard that would be for God to give His Son for us? And if you look at where we came from as people, where God made us from, He made us from dust, the lowest. Not from gold, not from silver, not from diamonds, but we were made from dust. And yet, God gave His Son, His only begotten Son, for dust. Doesn't that tell us something of His love for us? So, sometimes when we feel that it seems that we're not loved, we have to remember what God gave for us. We have to remember He gave His Son, the most valuable thing that God could have given. He made the world. He didn't give that, but He gave His only begotten Son because He loves us so much. 1 John 4 and verse 16 says, "It's not that we love Him, but that He first loved us." So it's not because of we did anything special, that's why He loved us. It's because He was the one first loving us. So sometimes we may feel that we're not loved, but we have to remember that what God did for us. He so loved us. That's why He gave His Son. And I heard this one concerning Marissa. And I have this one in here. It says, "Sometimes it may seem that things are so difficult to achieve. And sometimes we may feel that way. things may be very difficult to achieve in this life. But Philippians 4:13 says, we can do all things. And nothing is impossible for God. So should we have the same mindset? Nothing is impossible for us. Because God is our Father. So if God is our Father, nothing is impossible for Him, then nothing is impossible for us if we go through Christ and to Him. It says in Mark 9 and verse 23, it says, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. So here it goes again, faith. We have to believe that we can do it. Through Christ. Everything is possible. And anything is possible. Not the wrongs. You have to remember that. Not the wrong things, but the things that Christ and God would allow us to do. You know, sometimes we may feel that no one would choose us for anything. You know, we're not the rich of the world, we're not the billionaires, we're not the ones sometimes in the spotlight. But I have a few things here. It says, let's look at John 15 and verse 19. Sometimes we may feel like we're not that special. People may look down on us. But John 15 and verse 19, it says, if you were of the world, then the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. That's the reason. But who is it better to choose us? Is it the world that's going to be passed away? Or is it God who stands forever? God. Right? God stands forever. You say He would fold up the heavens like a garment. But His word, and if His word is going to stand forever, then He is going to stand forever. Right? Who better to choose us? Let's look at another verse from 1 Peter 2:9. And let's look at how it's written there. In 1 Peter 2, verse 9. You know, we say it all the time. It says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Boy, a lot of definitions here. A chosen generation, a royal priesthood, wow, a holy nation, a peculiar people. That's who we are. That's who God had made us. Very special. Very special. We are very special in His sight. That's why everything that He does for us is going to be good. Very good. So sometimes when things seems to be going wrong in our lives, I think that's where He's strong. Sometimes things just doesn't seem to be going our way. But that's what it is. It's actually going our way. I am sure that when Joseph was being tried, I am sure he probably looked at it and said, why? Why is this happening to me? Right. I am sure the thought probably came in his mind. Why? I mean, I've done everything that you asked me to do. I am faithful unto you. But why is this happening to me? And look at David too. David was anointed to be king over Israel. Saul was still king. When Saul needed someone to play, it was David. Why David? When he was chosen, why couldn't they find someone else? Why David had to be there, to be tried, almost killed after being anointed, after being chosen to be king over Israel? I am sure David is probably saying, well, why did you put me there? Why have you chosen me to be king over Israel? Why do I have to be going through this? He had to be running from Saul. He had to cry out to Saul, and Saul, why? I'm just a flea, I'm nobody. Why are you trying to kill me? All I've done was good for you. I've been at playing to ease that evil spirit that was tormenting you. Everything I did was good unto you. Why? The end result. And now, Christ is considered to be the son of David. God had said about David, David was a man after God's own heart. What is he saying about us? When we are going through what we are going through, because he wants to perfect us, we have to stand firm. We have to be faithful unto him. And we have to believe that everything that happens to us is for good. Because God is involved. He's involved because he wants us to be purified. He wants us, that part that says a holy nation, a peculiar people, he wants those things to be reality. So that's why he does what he does. And I believe that. We have to be tried. Because no jewelry, in order for that jewelry to be pure, has to go through some pressure. It must. Diamond don't come out the way it is. When they struck diamond from rocks, it doesn't look the way it looked. It has to go through so much cutting, so much chipping away. Silver has to go through fire. Every single precious metal that's out there has to go through pressure to come out pure. We go to the jewelry shop and we say, wow, it looks pretty. But if you saw it from its original state, you wouldn't want it. So imagine God is doing that to us. So the end result is going to be when we get to that kingdom, we would shine. We would shine. But we have to endure. And we have to look at things differently. We have to look at the things that we're going through in this life as God is putting us through that so that we can endure to the end. We can shine forth at the end as light. But we have to go through it. So things are always what they seem. Right? Now the last one, it says, sometimes it may feel like we have no strength to do anything. Whether it's mental strength, whether it's physical strength, sometimes we just feel like we want to give up. But David has testimonies. Psalms 118 and verse 14. It says, the Lord is my strength and my song, and has become my salvation. I'd like us to repeat that one together. So Psalms 118 and 14. It says, the Lord is my strength and my song, and has become my salvation. The Lord is our strength. You know, my job is a very tough one. I lift things every single day. I have to lift boxes. And to me, I had back pain when I wasn't doing anything. But now I don't have back pain. And I can attribute that to the Lord's strength. He allows me to do it. Sometimes we may feel that it's only spiritual things that he gives us strength in. But he does do it in physical as well. We succeed at school because he's the one that given us the ability to do it. We succeed at our jobs because he's there. All we have to do is call on him. He will always be there for us. We don't have to forsake him. If we forsake him, he might step aside. But if we're faithful to him, he's always going to be there. That's a promise that He says. He will never leave us, nor forsake us. So when things seems that it's just going wrong, we got to tell ourselves this is the right way. It's the right way that God is pushing us through. It just seems that it's not the way I want it to go. But if you're controlled by Christ, and if you're led by the Spirit, then we must believe that the direction that we're traveling is the right one. And the things that seem so tough is not so tough. Remember, the burden that He has given us is much lighter than what we give Him. Remember what He says? Put the burden on Him. For He cared for us. But He also takes us to ask us to take up something else. His yoke. So we give Him our load, and we take up His yoke. He said, this yoke is easy, and His burden is light. Our burden is heavy. So which one would you rather carry? Our heavy burden, or His burden, which is light? Rather His, right? So that's what we need to do. We have to remember. But it takes a lot of faith. I'm trying really hard, and as I live in this life, it's all about trial and error, I would say. We see what works, and we see what doesn't work. We see if we continue in faith, it works. But sometimes the flesh just want to come in and want us to just do things the fleshly way, with no help, and always wanting to see things first before we believe it, before we try it. But if we continue in faith, everything's going to be okay. He's going to be our salvation unto the end, even unto death. He's going to be there. But if we allow Him to do it, that's the only way, if we allow Him to do it. So I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with us, because I needed to. But just hearing, just the request of the prayer, and it just tells me that sometimes we may seem that we don't have a lot of burdens, but we do have a lot of burdens that we carry around. And we just need to let them go. We have to believe that Christ is there to carry them. Sometimes we may feel that we are the only ones. But it's a collective thing. And I see this togetherness here is the prayer request, and we've adopted it in New York as well. And it shows how much love we have for each other. And sometimes it breaks my heart, it's just certain things that we go through in this life. It's heartbreaking. It's not just us in the church, but we have relatives and we have friends that we just want things to be easy. But we're there. I think that if we don't have those, how will we be able to prove our love to each other? Let's say everybody's all well and good. We want to pray for each other. So the things that we go through brings us closer to each other. See how it is? Brings us closer. That's the only way we can love. We had powerful lessons before, and it showed us so much help that the Spirit gives us. We are created with certain emotions. Sometimes they are uncontrollable, but God gives us a help. He gives us that Spirit to help us go through it. But the Spirit cannot work. It doesn't force itself on us. It doesn't force its way on us. We have to allow it to walk through us. And that's the only way it operates. So we have a choice. We either allow the Spirit and God to lead us all the way to the end, or we battle with the Spirit. We allow the flesh to do its thing, which ultimately ends in destruction. Which one we want to choose? Look at the way we look at things. We just need to have faith. We need to continue in Christ. And that's the only way we can go. So I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. And I hope you have a blessed day and continue this journey that we have. Sometimes I imagine the kingdom. And And I would just smile. And I remember how hard it is to get there. And I remember we have help. You know, so someday it will be realized. And we all shine. Please continue in faith and God bless you.
Amen.